Hello and welcome to our flip video lesson, the Han, lesson 6.05. Our lesson 6.05 details are your Human Odyssey reading pages 173 to 177. And a quick note on that, please make sure that you are completing your Human Odyssey reading pages. It's super important that you have those pages read as we're working through these lessons and as you're completing your assessments. It really does take all of the information that we have in the flip videos that we do in our class sessions and really ties it all together. So it's important that you are completing those readings. And then you have your student guide workbook pages 180 to 181. There's not much in there today. We'll talk about that later in this flip video lesson. The OMS assignment is assessment 6.05, and then about the topic, the Han Dynasty and its influence on Chinese society. So our lesson learning objectives are describe the emerging importance of trade on the Silk Road, describe the main achievements of the Han Dynasty, describe the role of Confucian teaching in the Han Dynasty, and explain the significance of the Analects of Confucius. Lesson introduction, the Han. Historians look for changes over time in societies, but they also look for continuity, things that stay the same. In China, people welcome the change from the Qin to the Han Dynasty. The Han kept the good features of the Qin Dynasty, such as unified central government, but they instituted many needed reforms. The 400 years of Han rule herald great advances in technology, commerce, and education. Even today, most people refer to themselves as the people of the Han. Achievements of the Han Dynasty. So the Analects of Confucius and the scholars' other teachings guided public life. And remember, the Analects of Confucius are a collection of Confucianism, collection of Confucius's sayings and life lessons. Scholars advised the emperors how to govern, meaning it wasn't just coming from the top, from the hierarchy of family society. It was coming from the educated, the scholars. The Han developed the first civil service based on merit, again, meaning people had to earn their place in government. It wasn't just given to them based on birthright. Emperors sought out smart, virtuous men to help administer the government. The Imperial University was founded to teach the Confucian classes. Han merchants used the trading routes of the Silk Road to export silk, spices, ivory, jade, and ceramics. And then papermaking was made and perfected during this dynasty. Student guide questions. Okay, turn to page 180 in your student guide, and you're going to notice there's not much there on page 180 and 181. But you are going to use that blank space to write some notes, so please go ahead and open it to that. And right now, we're going to go ahead and watch a little video. It's called The Han Dynasty, China's First Golden Age. And while this video isn't playing, I would like you to have your student guide out and go ahead and jot down some notes that you find interesting or that stick out to you during this video.
The Han Dynasty began in 206 BC, when a man named Liu Bang, who had been born a peasant, led a group of generals to overthrow the Qin Dynasty. This started a 400-year period of prosperity, sometimes referred to as China's first golden age. The capital of the dynasty was at Chang'an, and at the time it was one of the biggest cities in the world. The Han Dynasty saw massive territorial expansion, with China's area almost doubling. The Han defeated the tribes to the north and signed treaties with the clans to the west. This made travel safer and led to the establishment of what became known as the Silk Road. This was the trade route connecting China with the Roman Empire, thousands of miles away in Europe. The Han also saw massive cultural developments, with Confucianism, which had been suppressed under the Qin, rising to become the state philosophy of China's aristocracy. Officials were evaluated on their conduct according to the Confucian values, and an imperial university was established to train them. It was also during the Han period that Buddhism spread to China from India. Buddhism's emphasis on compassion and universal salvation appealed to the masses. Along with Confucianism and Taoism, Buddhism became one of China's three main religions that would dominate the faith of the Chinese people for the next 2,000 years. The Han Dynasty gave rise to some of China's most well-known historical figures, such as Sima Qian, who wrote the Record of the Grand Historian, the definitive record of China's early history, and also Han Xin, the general who helped Liu Bang establish the Han Dynasty. The Han Dynasty was briefly interrupted in the year 9 AD, when the nephew of the empress, Wang Mang, seized the throne. 14 years later, Liu Xiu, a descendant of Liu Bang, eventually toppled him, and the Han Dynasty, with 12 more emperors, continued for another 200 years. But like all dynasties in Chinese history, the Han could not last forever. It officially ended in the year 220 AD. Trouble at court and uprisings across the empire led to its eventual downfall. The warlord Dong Zhuo led troops into the capital, kick-starting the battles between various warlords. Eventually, Cao Cao managed to establish the Wei state north of the Yangtze River. Sun Quan established the Wu state to the south of the Yangtze, and Liu Bei the Shu state in the west, starting the period known as the Three Kingdoms.
Okay, so hopefully you've watched the video, you've jotted down some notes. This is basically a transcript of the video, and I went through and highlighted some of the important parts. So the Han Dynasty began in 2006 BC. It started a 400-year period of prosperity. The Han Dynasty saw massive territorial expansion, with China's area almost doubling. The Han defeated the tribes to the north and signed treaties with the clans to the west, and this made the travel safer along what became known as the Silk Road, and that road connected China with the Roman Empire. The Han saw massive cultural developments with Confucianism. Officials were evaluated on their conduct, and then Buddhism also spread to China. Buddhism became one of China's three main religions. Sima Qian, who wrote The Record of the Grand Historian, was this definitive record of China's early history. The Han Dynasty, with 12 more emperors, continued on for another 200 years. But unfortunately, like every dynasty, it came to an end. It officially ended in the year 2020 AD. And again, just a quick reminder, please make sure you do have your Human Odyssey reading pages 173 to 177 complete. And a couple important vocabulary words to understand. Civil service system is that part of government that takes care of the government's basic business. Virtuous, meaning having morally good behavior or character. Edicts are an official order given by a person with power or by a government. And then Silk Road is this ancient trade route from China to the Mediterranean Sea. And here we come to our quote section. Time gives good advice, and that's a Maltese proverb. I'm sorry about my dog in the background. Thanks for joining me today. Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going.